Hey, what's up guys? It's the Catalyst47 here, back with another video. For this video, I want to continue my beginner tutorial series. So this is going to be part 4. I think I'm going to have to end up doing a 5-part series. Originally I planned 3, then I planned 4 as I started creating the videos. And then now I'm like, man, I think I need 5 in order to cover like at least most of the basics in the game. So yeah, this is probably going to be part 4. In this video, what I want to cover is what a typical turn would look like. We now know what the objective of the game is. We know what the field looks like here. We know like the type of cards there are, spell, traps, and monsters in the main deck. In the second video, I covered more in the sense of the types of summons that you have, like, or the type of spells, traps, and the summons of monsters, I guess, the normal, flip, and special summon. And then in the third video, we went over how you go about summoning the different types of monsters in the extra deck. So I think now that we have all that knowledge, we can actually get into like a little demonstration of what a typical turn would look like. And I mean, in this video, at least my main deck, which is the Rocket Dragon deck, I feel like that one's a little too complicated for beginners. It's just too much. You can do too many plays and that could be overwhelming, like so many effects that happen in one turn. So I decided to bust out this deck, which, spoiler alert, this is the deck that I'm going to profile next week. It's not complete yet. That's the only reason I haven't profiled it this week. So yeah, I'm waiting for a few more cards to come in, but this is going to be Burning Abyss. This is going to be my new like secondary main deck, I guess. And like I said, I will profile it eventually, just I don't have everything yet, so I'm just waiting for everything else to come in. So right now I'm just going to use what I have, just to show y'all what a typical turn would look like. So I'm going to do 2 hands basically. One is a going first hand and one is a going second hand. Just because, like I told you guys, when you go first, you only draw your 5 cards. You don't have like a draw phase when you're going first. So in this case, we're going to do the going first hand first. So we have our 5 cards we're going to draw. Now, if this is the beginning of our turn, if we were going second, we would draw the 6th card, but we're going first. So you only start with 5 cards. And so what I want to show you guys is, now the thing about Burning Abyss monsters, which all 3 of these are, they have 2 effects, but you can only use one of them in a turn. So the effects are, if you control no spell or traps, you can special summon the Burning Abyss monster directly to the field. And like I told you guys, you can special summon as many times as you want, as long as the conditions are met. That's what I told you guys in the last video, and in the second video. But basically, all the Burning Abyss have that first effect. Then the second effect, for all the Burning Abyss monsters, is when they're sent to the graveyard, they have their own unique effect depending on the Burning Abyss monster. But like I said, you could only use one of them per turn. So if you use a special summoning effect, if that monster is sent to the graveyard that turn, you won't get the second effect. And then of course, if you don't special summon it by its effect, then if it gets sent to the graveyard, then you do get you get the graveyard effect. So you can do 1 per turn. Now with this case, mostly what you want to try and do with this deck is you want to try and summon the main extra deck monster called Dante on the first turn, which with this hand it's very easy. So what you're gonna do here is you're gonna use this guy's effect is not as important right now. So what we're gonna do is like the effect would be sent to the graveyard. So we're gonna use the special summoning effect for him. So we would reveal it to our opponent, and then we would special summon it to the field. And then this other monster, well, actually it's 2 of the same monster, but you're only gonna summon 1. This one, we want his effect of being sent to the graveyard, so we're not gonna use a special summoning effect. We're just gonna normal summon him. He's a level 3, so we can normal summon him. We normal summon him. Now we cannot normal summon anymore because that's only once per turn. And now we have 2 level 3, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna overlay them. The main monster is an XYZ monster, Dante, right here, we're going to summon him in defense mode. This is how you summon Xyz from what I told y'all last video. Now what I'm going to do now is activate Dante's effect. And if you guys remember how I told you guys, to activate the effect of XYZ, you have to detach one, send it to the graveyard. Dante's effect is when you detach one, you can send a mill or send the top 3 cards of your deck, to the graveyard, and he gains 500 attack for each one until the end of the turn. Now you can choose between 1 and 3 cards to send. You don't have to send 3. Now in this case, this is the first turn and we can't attack. When you're going first, you cannot attack, of course, because your opponent has no cards. It would just be unfair. So we're just going to send 1 because we're not trying to send too many cards right now since we can't even attack in the first place. We just wanted, honestly, to get this card into the graveyard. So we're going to send 1. Trap card. Okay. Now, I guess I forgot to mention, this is all happening in the main phase. Like I told you guys, you have your draw phase, which you don't have when you're going first. Standby phase, and then you basically start off on your main phase. There is no battle phase in the first turn because you cannot attack. And so that basically means that you basically only have your main phase when you're going first and your end phase. So we send the trap card. He has an effect that activates on the end phase. So now we've already activated his effect, and we milled the top card. We only milled 1. And now we're going to set our trap cards. We have 2 trap cards. And we're going to keep this guy in our hand. So now we can just declare end phase, and his effect on the end phase is you can search 1 level 3 fiend type monster from your deck and add it to your hand on the end phase. So we're going to search tour guide. Then every time you go into your deck, like with an effect or something, you have to shuffle your deck. And then your opponent gets to cut the deck. And now this would be where our turn ends. We declared end phase, we searched our tour guide, and now it's our opponent's turn. So that's basically what a typical board would look, or a typical turn would look like if you're going first. On our opponent's turn, we have our trap cards ready. We can activate them now because it's not the turn that we're set anymore. It's our opponent's turn now, so these trap cards can be activated in response to something. And we have our monster defending us on the field. So we're basically ready for anything. And that's basically a typical turn 1 with this deck anyways. Not too complicated. So now I'm just gonna shuffle this deck real quick. And then I'll show y'all, I guess, what a turn, or going second. I mean, it's basically the same thing, but now we're able to go into our battle phase and all that stuff, main phase 2. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, if we're going second, of course, then our opponent just finished their turn, their end phase. Now it's our turn. We have our draw phase. We draw our 6th card. And then we standby phase if our opponent wants to do anything on standby real quick. And then we go into main phase 1. So what we can do here is we have the Burning Abyss monsters. We don't control any spell or traps, so we can activate their effects to special summon them. What we're going to do first, though, is we're going to get this guy on the field. Normal summon him. And then, because we don't control spell or traps, we can reveal this one and special summon him here. And, I mean, of course, our opponent is going to have, like, monsters on the field and all that stuff. So we would have to... I'm not really going to go into, like, the whole thing of playing around certain cards or stuff like that yet. I'm just going to show what a typical turn 2 would look like. So we special summon because we control no spell or traps. And now we can overlay these. They're both level 3. And we can go into our Dante. Now we're going to summon him in attack mode this time because we are going to want to attack. Now we're going to detach this card. And then we're going to Dante's effect's going to trigger. We're going to mill 3 cards. Send 3 cards from our deck to the graveyard. 1, 2, 3. If you guys remember, this card is the one that lets us search on the end phase of our turn. We can search for a level 3 fiend type. So we send him, we'll be able to search for a card on the end phase. And then this guy's effect will also trigger. When he's sent to the graveyard, you can send one fiend type monster from your deck to the graveyard. So what we're gonna do here is since our opponent most likely has a monster on the field, we're gonna send this guy. He's a fiend, so he meets the requirement for this guy. We send Farfa, and basically Farfa's effect will trigger. Since we didn't special summon him this turn, like we can actually use his effect. Because like I told you guys, all Burning Abyss have 2 effects. If you use one of them, the special summoning one, you cannot use the one to send to the graveyard, but we never used the summoning one for Farfa, so when he's sent to the graveyard, you can target one monster on your opponent or on the field and banish it until the end phase. So if our opponent has a monster, we would banish it, and that would get rid of their monster for this turn. And now, since we milled 3 cards earlier with Dante, he gains 500 for each, so he's going to gain 1500. And then 1500 plus 1000 is his original attack is 2500. So now he's 2500 for the turn. And since we got rid of our opponent's monster with Farfa, then we can attack if they have another monster, we would attack their other monster. If not, we could attack directly, and our opponent we would enter battle phase after the main phase, and then we would attack. Since we only have one monster on the field, then we can only attack once basically. If we had more monsters, they could each attack one time. And then at the end of the battle phase, Dante has an effect that switches him back to defense mode. Normally monsters, if you attack, you won't be able to switch their position anymore. But Dante's effect lets him switch to defense mode at the end of the battle phase. Now we go into main phase 2. And we have our trap cards. So now we can actually set our trap cards. We can set traps. I mean, you could set them during main phase 1 as well. But typically good players will set them like towards the end of their turn. That way, in case your opponent has like some kind of interruption when you attack, then like let's say they could destroy like 2 cards on the field. Well, when you attacked, if they had a trap card themselves, then they would really only destroy. I mean, you only have 1 card on the field, so they would just destroy the 1. And then on your after the attack and everything, you could set these 2, and you would still have your 2 cards for your opponent's turn. So that's why typically players wait till like towards the end of their turn to set trap cards. So like I said, our battle phase is over, main phase 2, we set our 2 trap cards, and that's basically all we can really do this turn. I mean, if we wanted to, if we had other ways to summon more monsters, we could, but right now we don't. So that's how we would end our turn. Or one other thing we could do is, we could actually summon this lady right here. You discard a Burning Abyss monster, and you put her. Normally she would require 2 level 6s because she's a rank 6, but she has an effect that if you have a Dante on the field, you can discard 1 Burning Abyss from your hand, which this card is a Burning Abyss, and then you can just put her on top of a Dante. So we could summon her like that, put her on top of Dante, and then on the end phase, if you guys remember, we did send the Scarm when we milled for Dante. So that means we get to search for a level 3 Fiend type on the end phase of our turn, which typically will be the tour guide. Like I said, you always shuffle your cards, and there we go. And that would be on our end phase, and then our turn is over, and then our opponent can go. We have trap cards ready for them in case we need to like interrupt them. And this monster has an effect that lets you interrupt your opponent as well, so that's pretty good. And so yeah, we're ready for our opponent to do stuff. And like I told you guys, Farfa only banishes a monster for the turn, so at the end of the turn, their monster would come back. But I mean, we used it so we could attack directly, basically, or get rid of a problematic monster. But yeah, that's basically like what a going second or a typical turn that's not the first turn would look like. So you have, like I said, your draw phase, standby, main phase 1, your battle phase, main phase 2, and then your end phase. So yeah, it's not this deck is actually, I mean, I'm not saying it's a really easy deck, but it's definitely not on the harder side. So just wanted to show you guys how this deck functions. If we got into a little bit more of a complicated line of play, then I guess I could show you guys how So let's see. Okay, let's just say it's no longer like, oh, we're first or second. Let's just say this is like in the middle of a duel, or I'm just gonna show y'all what I would do with a certain hand, basically. So in this hand right here, we have the tour guide here, and she's honestly very good in this deck. What we could do is typical combo play you can do with tour guide is you can normal summon tour guide, and like I told you guys in the other video, she gets the effect to special summon a level 3 fiend type from your deck. We summon the Fiendish Rhino Warrior. Remember guys, you always shuffle your deck after you go through it. Then we can overlay these two for Dante. Actually, well, if we're not going to attack them, just summon defense. And then we can detach the Fiendish Rhino Warrior, which we would probably just mill 1, or depending on what the turn's looking like. If we're going to attack them, we'd probably mill 3 so we could get the full attack boost for Dante. But we'll mill 1 for right now. And then Fiendish Rhino Warrior gets his effect because he was sent to the graveyard. He gets to send 1 fiend type monster from your deck to the graveyard. So we're going to send, where is he? We're going to send Graph. Graph has the effect that when he's sent to the graveyard, you can special summon 1 Burning Abyss from your deck. So that's going to let us special summon Seer directly from our deck onto the field. And now what we can do here is we can link these two, Dante and Seer, into this monster called IP Masquerena, a link monster. She requires 2 non-link monsters, if you guys remember. So we used 2 monsters and they're not links, so that meets the requirements for her. And now we get the effect of both of these monsters. When Seer is sent to the graveyard, you get to special summon a Burning Abyss monster from your graveyard. And when Dante is sent to the graveyard, you can add 1 Burning Abyss monster from your graveyard back to your hand. So these 2 cards are very recyclable together. And so now what we can do here is we can, like I told you guys, we have Dante on the field, so we can summon Beatrice by discarding a Burning Abyss, which we just got with Seer. So, and then now that it's going to let us, discarding the Seer is going to let us put the Beatrice on top of the Dante. And now we can set our trap cards if we're not attacking. I mean, if we were attacking, then we would put her in attack mode and attack, and then after that, after the battle phase, we would set our trap cards. And then we would be ready for the next turn for our opponent. We have trap cards set that help us interrupt. This monster has interruptions as well. And we have also an IP Masquerena, which she has an effect that on your opponent's main phase, you can use her to on your opponent's main phase, you can use her effect to link summon, or use her as a link summon material, and you can bring out a monster on your opponent's turn with her. So on our opponent's turn, they summon a big monster, we can use her effect, trigger her effect, and then use these two to go into Nightmare Unicorn. And then Unicorn's effect would activate because when he's link summoned, you can discard 1 card and then return 1 card on the field back to the deck. And we would also get the effect of Dante because he got sent to the graveyard, and we could add Seer back to our hand. So you see guys, this is how, I know this is definitely a bit more complicated than the last one, but this is basically how decks can interact together with the extra deck, especially when the extra deck cards are made for the deck. So I just wanted to show you guys. I mean, we still have our trap cards for interruption. We were able to bring out Unicorn, which is another form of interruption on our opponent's turn, and we have a Veiler, which is also an interruption. So it's just the decks work well together when you have the right cards that synergize. But I think that's gonna be it for the video, guys. This is gonna be one of the shorter ones, which is good because some of these videos have been really long. But yeah guys, I basically showed y'all 3 hands and how I would play them out. I know this third one was definitely a bit more complicated, but I wanted to show y'all just what a more complicated play looks like. The first 2 I feel like definitely shouldn't have been too hard to understand. I basically just summoned like 3 monsters in a turn, ending on Dante, which is, like I said, not that complicated. So yeah guys, I hope you guys learned a little bit of what a typical turn looks like. In the next video, in the last video of the series, what I'm probably gonna cover is I'm probably gonna cover more of like actually starting to look into chains and everything, like how you chain cards and all that stuff. I'm just gonna go very briefly into it. Like I said, this is for like the very beginner level people, and even though chain links can get a bit complicated, they are a very vital part of the game that I feel like even a beginner has to know the basics for it. So yeah guys, the next video will definitely be the last video of the series, so it's going to be 5 videos. I hope you guys are enjoying this series and have learned something from it. And like I told you guys, I will be having or showing y'all the deck profile for the Burning Abyss deck probably next week, or maybe sometime later this week. But yeah guys, hope you enjoyed. Leave a like and subscribe if you did, and I will see y'all in the next video. Peace out.